Hey, Melanin Wellness family. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'd like to start my own podcast? Well, look no further. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the absolute easiest way to start a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your smartphone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. It's everything you need to make your very own podcast all in one convenient place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Yes, I said it, Free, free. So what are you waiting for? Your voice needs to be heard. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Hey, and welcome to the Living Well with Karina podcast, the official place for learning how to live well in all aspects of your life after you reach 40-ish. We will discuss health, fitness, mental wellness, financial wellness, and sexual wellness. I mean, we're all grown up in here, right? I will give you some of the tools, tips, and strategies that I've learned along my way to help you get to living your best, most healthy life inside and out. I'm your host, Karina Dunn, and if you're ready to take charge of your health and wellness, tune in, grab a pen and paper, and let's live well. What's up, family, and welcome to another episode of Living Well with Karina. How is it going out there? I hope you are doing well and flourishing in this new year of 2022. You know, it is so hard to believe that we are almost finished with February. I mean, man, this time is flying, okay? I hope that you have found yourself an accountability buddy by this point to help hold you accountable for those goals you may have set. And you know, last week I spoke about sweating with your bae, and so your bae can actually be that for you, you know, or your best friend, or, you know, someone to help you and you can help them, right? To make sure that you meet your overall goals, right? So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing some ways that yoga helps you to balance your hormones and also benefits your overall health. But before we get into that, I want to take about 30 seconds to give some gratitude. So giving gratitude is a thing that I implemented into my life about 6 months ago. And I began the practice of when I open my eyes, before my feet touch the floor, I immediately give 5 things that I'm grateful for. Now, most times I have to think fast, and that's hard when you first wake up, because typically that first trip to getting up out of the bed is to the bathroom, right? So that means that I've got to think quickly, and trying to do that when you're half asleep is not so easy. But I do it, and I noticed some miraculous changes in my life when I began to do that, because if you are operating from a space of gratitude, you can't operate in a space of negativity. Those two things cannot coexist. Now, I'm not going to go too much more deeper into that because we're going to get into that next week. But I just wanted to say that if you have not started a practice of gratitude, it's never too late. So let's get started. I am grateful for waking up this day. I am so grateful for both mine and my family's health. I am grateful for shelter and a safe place for us to lay our heads each night. I am grateful for the ability to purchase whole, healthy foods that we put in our bodies. I am so grateful for the love and my wonderful support system. Not everybody has that. I am so grateful for inner reflection and personal growth and the willingness to be able to stretch myself, right? I am so grateful for clarity because it has helped me have the ability to see things for what they are. And I am also grateful for rest and recovery. Our minds and our spirits and our reproductive systems often don't get that, right? We don't get to recover because we're not getting enough rest, yeah? And so I'm so grateful for those things. Now that may have been more than 30 seconds, but that's okay. Because the way I feel about gratitude is take as much time as you need, because you can never be grateful enough for all the things that you have been blessed with. And even if you think you don't have anything to be grateful for, I challenge you to challenge that thought, right? So let's get into it. Now, a lot of us were already aware, and some of us are now becoming aware, that a consistent yoga practice has amazing benefits for you physically, emotionally, mentally, right? And so modern media, social media, advertisements, they might have you thinking that yoga is all about those amazing physical poses that you see people doing where the sole of their foot is touching the top of their scalps. Listen, I can't do that. Okay? And I've been doing yoga for 7 years. I cannot do that, right? But it's all good, right? Because yoga encompasses so many things, right? Besides just those amazing poses, right? It is also a self-disciplinary practice like meditations and mantras and chantings and affirmations, breath work, right? Prayer. So when you think of yoga, I want you to think of it as something that is for mind, body, and spirit. It's not just one piece. It is an entire globe, almost like a bottle. I think of it like a huge bottle that I am pouring like liquids that separate upon contact, right? And that's the way I think of yoga. It's so many pieces. It's more than just those poses. So the word yoga itself, it comes from the root word yuj, which means to yoke or to bind, right? And so, the underlying theme of yoga would be connection, unity. Yoga asanas are those poses, those postures, the down dogs, the child's pose, the wheelbarrows, right? The cat cows. While the word pranayama refers to your breath work, right? The way that you breathe, your deep inhales, your deep exhales as you are doing your asanas, right? Yoga has so many different styles to choose from, so many different intensities, varying from high to moderate to mild to very gentle. There are different mediums and ways that it can be delivered. It can be delivered on the mat, which is your more traditional way. It can be adapted to chairs and beds and yoga. That's one of the things that makes yoga so amazing, right? Is because you can have this practice from almost anywhere, right? And that's one of the things that I love so much about yoga. So as I was speaking before about it doesn't just offer a physical benefit. It also offers mental health benefits. And this is for people of all ages. And if you are going through an illness or recovering from a surgery or living with a chronic condition such as chronic inflammation, I can't even get the word out, or chronic pain, yoga can become an integral part of your treatment and potentially hasten healing. I remember back in October of last year, I had just had a surgery that actually was life-saving. And I didn't even realize it at the time because it was such an urgent thing, an emergent thing. And it happened so quickly, right? That I wasn't prepared for it. It wasn't a planned thing. But I remember lying in bed, and the first thing I was thinking was, how am I going to do my yoga practice? Because yoga had become such a part of my everyday life. I do yoga every single day. Every single day. So first thing in the morning after I do my gratitude, I do a set of yoga stretches before I get out of bed. Amazing. I do those same set of yoga stretches at night, in addition to a few more before I go to bed. It's a part of my bedtime routine, right? We'll get into routines and how they help you later on. But what I'm saying is that I was still able to, from my bed, do some yoga poses, do some breath work, do some meditations that still helped speed up my healing and help my mental health while I was in that particular space. Okay? Because sometimes when you're healing from some traumatic injury or a surgery, you get more caught up in the fact that you can't do what you normally do, and you're so focused on your injury or your particular situation instead of recognizing that, hey, this can't last forever. I'm going to heal from this. And so let me do something to keep my mind going in the positive direction, right? There's that gratitude again, yeah? So one of the things that yoga does is it improves your strength, your balance, and your flexibility. Now, reduced flexibility is a natural part of aging. And I think that probably if most of you are listening are probably in that age range where either you've already begun experiencing some stiffness and snap crackle pops, because I know I do, and so does my husband. If you haven't started yet, it's coming, right? So you already know that it's a part of that aging process. And so there was a 2019 study that found that yoga both slowed down bone mass loss, and improved flexibility in older adults. And so now it's probably referring to people that are much older than myself. I'm only 45, and so, but I'm already experiencing some of that stiffness, right? So one of the things that yoga does, because it's so effective, it builds strength, right? And like the slow movements and the deep breathing, it increases the blood flow. It warms up those muscles, and holding those poses helps to build strength. So I definitely have noticed some differences and some improvements. My flexibility is definitely much, much better, right? And flexibility is very important for our physical health because you're less susceptible to injuries, right? And that is something that comes for us, right, as we get older. So yoga is also especially helpful for improving flexibility for those 65 and older. And that's the age in which we especially become more susceptible to something called osteoporosis. And I think everybody, is pretty much well versed on osteoporosis and how, the effect that can have on you, right? Yoga is also amazing for back pain relief. All right. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Okay. I used to go see a chiropractor on a consistent basis. Well, not anymore. I don't need to anymore because I have made yoga a consistent part of my day. All right. Now, I every once in a while go see him, but there was a point where I was seeing him once a week, and that got really expensive. So I appreciate what yoga did for that, right? So actually the American College of Physicians recommends yoga as a first line treatment for chronic low back pain. So listen, if you have not tried yoga and you've got some back pain, I would suggest that you scurry right on over and find yourself some yoga. I do have a YouTube page that has some, short beginner friendly yoga classes, but we'll get into that at a later time. But I would definitely highly suggest that. And so yoga also helps to detoxify you by gently putting pressure on your organs, which helps the body to release the toxins that have built up in the body from life's daily stressors and, pollution and all of these different things. And over time, these toxins build up and they cause you to become sluggish, and they cause you to, become stiffer. And there are so many different things that these toxins, once they build up in your system, that they do to you. And so yoga can help to do that. So like yoga twists, like when you are doing twists at the waist, those really help to detoxify, right? I remember when I first found that out, I was in shock. I couldn't believe that. I didn't know that that was one of the benefits, right? So in terms of inflammation, yoga can help reduce that inflammation, because often a precursor for illnesses is chronic inflammation, right? Heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, Crohn's disease, IBS, and many, many other conditions are linked to prolonged levels of inflammation. Now, some of us have certain genetic markers so to where we are genetically predisposed to high levels of inflammation. So that is one of the reasons why it is very important what you put into your body, right? And very important what you do for your body. Again, so that's like two totally different conversations. So like we will like totally get into talking about inflammation. That's going to be in another episode about inflammation and how you can help to reduce some of that goes on, right? So there was a review that examined 15 research studies and found that yoga of various styles, intensities, and durations reduced the biochemical markers of inflammation across several of those chronic diseases that I just previously talked about. So you don't have to be in yoga practice for an hour and a half for it to be effective. Yoga is effective at 15 minutes, okay? Because I'm telling you, I've got some quick yoga classes that I created that, listen, you're sweating in 15 minutes and you're saying like, whoa, that's nuts. How is that even possible, right? So that chronic inflammation is so important and to remove and reduce, and yoga can help you with that, right? It relaxes you and helps you to sleep better. Okay, so we all know that we should have a consistent bedtime routine, right? And adding yoga to that can help you get in the right mindset and prepare your body to fall asleep and stay asleep. That is one of the most common signs that you have a hormonal imbalance, is that your sleep pattern is disrupted. I know that was one of the things for me, right? So when I began to have significant hormonal imbalances, probably around 35, meaning that I was having symptoms that I'd never had before. And I remember one of the biggest problems that I began to struggle with was disruption of my sleep cycles. And I believe I went for about 3 years without a full, decent night's sleep. So that means that I was not sleeping 8 hours. I wasn't even sleeping 6 hours straight through for 3 years. Can you imagine how exhausted I must have been? I'm sure some of you are out there shaking your head going, yeah, because I've been there. So we bought new bed frames, new mattresses, new pillows, and I was still awake. And I believe that's when I started to gain some weight. And I was probably around 38 or so. And I felt like I was always awake. So I started eating late at night, because when you do not have your correct sleep cycle, when your sleep cycle's been disrupted, that sleep hormone is out of balance. It disrupts that hunger hormone. So it's always firing off saying, I'm hungry, even when you're not. You're actually tired, but that hunger hormone is not functioning correctly because of that lack of sleep. And I remember eating late at night, binge watching the Flintstones. Shout out to my childhood favorite, y'all. Does anybody remember that show? Like, I absolutely love that show, like, even to this day. Anyway, I had tried everything, and it wasn't until I started taking yoga about 6 months into my 3rd year of no sleep that I began to rest more peacefully. Now, that wasn't the original reason for me beginning to take yoga, but that was a very pleasant byproduct for me, right? Like, the original reason, we'll get into that in a whole nother episode, but that was an amazing byproduct for me, right? It also helped to mentally calm me and, release some stress and releasing some anxiety, and that was definitely needed, right? So in regards to releasing stress, what yoga does is it allows you to get out of survival mode, right? It gives your nervous system the chance to recover and reset. And, that is something that we are all having issues with. In today's day and age, with COVID, and now, some of the news stories that are on TV, can be very distressing. And it starts from the time you open your eyes in the morning, and you're constantly bombarded with these things as you go through your day, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I have created a saying in my house: take it to the mat, right? So that refers to the many times when life just got to be too much in any given period of time, right? And I want to say I probably started doing that around 2016, 2017, when there was so much injustice taking place. And I just remember feeling so exhausted and so hopeless, and feeling like there was nowhere to turn, and I felt powerless, and I didn't know what to do. And so I began taking it to my mat. I would find myself on my mat. Even if I didn't go into a full yoga practice, I would just sit in silence and breathe, because my mat felt like a safe place. So whenever I began to feel stress, anxiety, hopelessness, or even a moment that I felt like I seriously just might lose my shit, I'd take it to my mat. And I can immediately feel a shift, right? A grounding of my mind and my body. Like almost my mind and my body are rejoining themselves together and becoming one all over again. And it feels amazing. If you've ever had that experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? You know what this feels like. It's so hard to describe. I don't know if any of you have ever been in those flotation devices. Doing yoga, and when you are ungrounded, and when you are able to ground yourself again, and your body and your mind and your spirit are kind of rejoining and becoming one again, that's what it feels like. It feels like you are floating. It feels absolutely incredible. I think that we can all probably take what I've just said and look back at a time in which you were in total chaos, right? And you felt like, I need to find a way to get out of this chaos. I need a way to calm the chaos, right? I understand. And yoga has definitely done that for me and helped me to stabilize my nervous system and keep those hormones balanced and in check, right? Another issue that we start to have, another hormonal imbalance, is digestion, right? Constipation, gas, IBS. That has to do with our unhealthy, fast-paced lifestyles, right? So our poor eating choices, stress, hectic schedules, often manifest in our digestive systems as constipation, diarrhea, or even infrequent bowel movements, right? And so these things are more important to us as we get into our mid to late 30s and beyond than they ever were before, because our bodies start to slow down, our metabolisms begin to slow down, and our bodies are not producing certain hormones such as testosterone or estrogen at the same levels anymore. And so it is very important that we keep our digestive systems intact, keep them balanced, keep those hormones flowing properly. And so certain yoga postures can help with digestion by massaging your digestive organs, increasing that blood flow and oxygen delivery, right? So that is something that is super important. And again, we are going to discuss gut health in another episode. I have a whole episode written out about that and ways we can balance that gut health in order to also assist with the balancing of other hormones within our bodies, right? All right, so let's just take a deep breath here, okay? Okay, just inhale and exhale. That was a lot of information to digest, right? But I hope that some portion of it resonates with you. As we age, it's important to find ways to promote healthy, mindful, gentle ways of body movement and hormone balancing. And yoga is definitely one of those ways. So if you'd like more tips and more strategies on how to balance your hormones, this Saturday, February 26th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be hosting a live online masterclass, which will share with you not only the reasons that it's important to balance your hormones, but how you can start balancing them immediately so that you can start on your road to feeling better. It's much easier than you think, right? So that link will be in my socials. It's in all of my socials. If you want that link to get in on that live masterclass, the spaces are filling up, and because of the intimate nature of what we're discussing, and so that we have time for Q&A after, I'm definitely keeping the spaces limited. So please, 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 if you'd like to jump on, those links will be in my socials, and I'm going to give those to you. So I thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. And I so hope that you will join me again next week. Please feel free to connect with me on social media and let me know if this information was helpful for you, or if you have a question or comment. You can find me on Instagram at Living Well with Karina, on my YouTube channel, Living Well with Karina, where you will find those short but effective, beginner-friendly yoga videos. You can also join my private Facebook community, the Midlife Mafia, where we are in there discussing all the things living well. I thank you again for tuning in, and until our next time together, live well.